This might be the only chance I get to make a video before my birthday, which is uh, next Tuesday, November the 11th. It'll be, if you count the year in the womb, the 9 months in the womb, I'll be my avatar, my holographic form. This thing, this what Einstein calls light and sound, because he believed that matter was actually, in the end of his life, he changed his perception and said that all matter is light and sound. So therefore, this holographic form, light and sound, has its 55th revolution around the sun on Tuesday, November the 11th. So I wanted to make a video about my year living in the Auckland Northern region. It's almost up. It's almost, I think it's 6 to 8, 7 weeks away from Christmas. Actually, hang on, 7 weeks away from 2026 in the Gregorian calendar, which is also illusory, imaginary, but whatever. 7 weeks away, which is fucking unbelievable, really. I wanted to make a video about my year in Auckland because this is for retrospective, but also for, you might get some gold out of this if you watch this video all the way through, because I'm going to tell you about my experiences. And it might be a long video, but I'm going to tell you how I came to Auckland and the way that I came to Auckland and how my year played itself out. So when I left my best friend of 5 years last year, when he died, October the 9th, 2024, that being Jeff, my friend Jeff, and Waikanai. I was in Wellington at the time when he died. Just down the road, actually, just down the road from the hospital, Wellington Hospital, was in Newtown when he died. I knew that my time was up in the Wellington Kapiti region. I wanted to move on with my life. I wanted to start a whole new chapter in my life, and I was pretty cashed up. Due to the nature of all the work I'd done that year, and of course living with Jeff, I was painting his property while I was living there too, so I was pretty cashed up. I could have easily packed up then and gone overseas, which was something I wanted to do for a long time. I was going to do it last year in May, but then Jeff got sick and no one stepped in to regards to my community. No one stepped in to help him. So I moved in with him to be his full-time carer, and of course, it was the most precious and wondrous experience of my life to be with my best friend of 5 years and be his full-time carer and be with him there through his journey towards his change of scenery, shall we say, before he passed on. So I left the Kapiti region and came to Auckland to work on a farm in Kemu. I lived on a farm and worked on a farm for 10 weeks. Landscaping, building, painting, gardening, just clearing the land up because it was a fucking mess when I got up there. And my intention was to travel to the South Island, which I did in December last year, 2024. And then I was going to go around the South Island, find work in various places in the South Island, have 3 months down there, and then come up to Auckland region probably around late March, early April, and then go overseas with the money that I'd made in the South Island. And travel probably to Southeast Asia or to Central or South America, one of those places. If I'd gone to Southeast Asia, I probably would have gone back to Thailand for a short visit and then gone to India and gone through Myanmar into India, from Sikkim, Nagaland, that way, across and down Assam, down into India. That would have been my intention. And this time of the year now, November, I probably would be coming back to New Zealand, coming back here to this country. Well, the South Island was too cold last year in December, January. It was freezing cold. It was not like I expected, and there was no work that came in my way over that time in the South Island. So I left and decided to come up north, put my feelers out for work up here in painting, interior decorating work, and got a job in Mangatapiri, which is about a quarter of an hour southwest of Whangarei in Northland, with a friend and her partner who had a house up there, which I quoted for the property. I quoted quite a high price, and was going to bring up a crew of painters from Dunedin and Apotiki, who I used to work with, to give me a hand to do a full strip and paint, full strip of the exterior and a full interior paint of this property. And I would have walked away from that job with about $27,000 New Zealand after working there for about 2.5 months, which would have been amazing, which would have helped me out a lot to be able to travel and go overseas. And that was my intention. Well, it didn't work out that way. Within 3 weeks, the pin was pulled on by the clients. They pulled the pin on me and said, can we push it back 8 weeks, if not further? And I was kind of pissed because I actually had a job in Auckland here in the beginning of the year, which I walked away from. And this is the story of my year, really. I walked away from a job in Auckland to the behest of other people. My choice. They said to me, come on up and start work right away. This is in late January, early February of 2025. Come up here now and start working right away. I could have said, no, I'm going to stay in Auckland City. I'm going to do this job first, which would have paid me about $15,000. Done this job, and then I'd come up afterwards, which makes more sense to me. I could have stayed here in January, February, done this job, finished the job, gone up to the far north for March, April, May, and that would have given them the opportunity to get ahead. So when I got up to that part of the country, the jobs flowed together really nicely. But I made a choice at their behest to go up to Mangatapere and start the job up there, which they pulled the pin on me 3 weeks into the job. And even though I was still cashed up to a large extent, I still felt like I was pretty pissed off. And I fed into the loosh farm with my reactions and my responses. I was so angry and so disappointed and so pissed off and frustrated that I basically fed all these heavy, dense emotions into what David Icke calls the loosh farm, and which I've known for a long time, and my own research as well, is that when you the bricks and mortar of the simulation, if we are in a simulation, big question, is all the denser, heavy energies and emotional content of the frequencies, right? Because in the end, it's all, as Einstein said, light and sound. So frequency. So the frequencies of the emotions that I was generating like a battery feed into the loosh farm. And someone might say, and I'm looking at the situation now, almost a year later, that was in some way, it was a force moving through those people. That even though I was going to that place with a very open heart, and my heart's been open for a long time. Being with Jeff last year was, you couldn't help but have your heart open. And it was often heartbreaking to see my friend suffering the way that he was with his cancer. So my heart was open, fully open. I was meditating every day, doing meditation, and I was full of humor and joy and really just excitement about and wonder about life. And when you're in that place of elevating yourself out of the matrix, out of the loosh farm, and you're connecting to all that is, ever has been, and ever will be, as David Icke says in his books, when you're connecting to that energy force, you actually have a situation where there are, I've done a video on this as well, the Agent Smiths of the world, of the Agent Smiths of the simulation, the lower fourth dimension, can find a way to get into people who are more in coherence with the lower fourth dimension energetically, and come through them, and often you'll have these energies coming through like a possession or an attachment. I've seen this throughout my life, and now I've kind of got a greater gauge and a clearer picture of how this happens. These energies come through people through possession, through attachment, because the frequency and the coherence between the lower fourth dimension and the people in this dimension and 3D, there's a coherence energetically, so the energy from the lower fourth dimension can come into these people's bodies and come through them, and then therefore move through them in a way that attacks you in your higher frequency vibration, for me being with my heart being open, and by doing that attempts to bring you back through trickery and mischief, bring you back into a place of denser emotional content where you fall into a denser frequency band, and the loosh farm gets fed, and it takes you out of that coherence with higher levels of existence, infinity, beyond the simulation, right? If you're in your heart space and your consciousness is in 5D, so to speak, or in infinite reality, and your heart's completely open, you're a danger to the system, because by being in that coherence within the simulation, you're basically picking apart the frequency, the light, and the sound within the system by resonating out into the system, this field from your heart space into the system, and therefore you're a threat to the system, to this interdimensional AI, which I wrote about in 2014 in a book called United with Amon Sueño, a novel called United, which is the bookend to the Shadow and Soul series. Big plug here for my work. As you might know, this is the first time you're watching one of my videos, I've written 12 books. I have a publishing company called Ohoakebooks. It means to rise up or to awaken in New Zealand Māori. I started that publishing company in 2008 after having a mystical experience at the Kilburnie Flight Centre travel agency. And the whole idea of these books is to awaken people and help them to rise up out of the frequency band of this loosh farm and back into and not back because you're always there, but to come to realize that you are always in that place where when you move into your heart space, into your heart vortex, you're always there. You're never not there. In that place of infinity, all that is, ever has been, and ever will be, you're always there. But it's the misdirection, it's the misinformation, it's the trickery to keep you in the loosh farm. And my experience with these people in Mangatapere was their actions. I could have responded differently, but I responded in a way that fed into the loosh farm. The bricks and mortar of that energy went out into the world and around me and fed into the simulation. And by doing that, also it programmed my future movements moving forward in Auckland, so to speak. Because what happened, the repercussions of that experience for me as I moved back to Auckland were pretty steadfast. I began to encounter many things in Auckland that resembled my experience with the people up north. Even though I was doing my best to stay in my heart vortex the entire time, nothing aligned for me here. Nothing aligned. The house sit situation, almost 8 months without trying to find a house sit. I've actually found 3 potential house sits in the northwestern part of Auckland over Christmas and New Year's, and maybe a little bit of January next year, which is a huge improvement. Because 8 months of finding nothing has been intense. And every house that I applied for on Kiwi House Sitters and on Facebook, and people telling me they had house sits, every single one, before I could get to it, it was gone. Nothing was aligning for me, and that was frustrating. And you have to come. I came to a place of deep, active acceptance and surrender to this, and lived in my van since October last year. I've been living in my van in Auckland City and around the country. And this year, in regards to my working situation, I went out. I did it on purpose. When I got back from Mangatapere, I decided to go hard into the LinkedIn website and begin to connect and network with people all over the world to find a way to present my books and everything I've written for TV and film producers to look at. Graphic novels, comics, which is basically storyboards for film and TV. I networked all over the world with people all over the world, attempting to find some kind of connection with people to actually take my work into the next level. For about 2 months solid, every day, networking for hours and hours and hours on LinkedIn with people, sending emails, sending proposals, applications to various people all over the world in regards to getting my work seen, the books that I've written, and nothing happened. Nothing came of all that work. Nothing came of it. And in the same moment, I was also looking for interior-exterior decorating contracts, and I managed to get some work through a friend of mine, Michael Thomas at Barfoot and Thompson, the asset manager. I managed to get a little bit of work through him, project managing and doing a little bit of painting work as well, and a couple of jobs for him, which really helped me out during the middle of the year. But that was the only break I got during the whole year. The rest of the year, every contract that I've put my energy into to get interior-exterior decorating contracts, I emailed about 45 project management companies all around Auckland, with no one responded apart from one. One project management company responded and said, "No, we've already got our staff and our trades working for us." incredible, just incredible. How much energy and time I put into making things align for me in my life here in this part of the world, and nothing aligned in regards to the work situation. I've been blessed with some financial abundance and some financial help from my mother. It's helped me to be able to move through this year relatively easily, since I'm not paying a large amount of rent, but I'm still, negotiating a place where I've got the freedom to be able to do what I want, which I really appreciate. I really appreciate this, the freedom to do what I want in regards to how, within the confines of a budget, right, living within my means. Very appreciative. It's a great skill to actually be able to find a way to live within your means and live your best life within your means. But what I've also learned this year, and this is where it gets interesting for me, what I've discovered and learned about myself through meeting and interacting with other people this year, is I've seen myself and other people reflected back at me quite strongly, and my own actions and my own words and deeds that I myself had done previous decades ago and years ago. I've seen a lot of my own behavior reflected back at me that I no longer do in my life right now, but I've seen a lot of that behavior reflected back at me by through other people. And it's shocking when you see your own behavior, and then you get the chance to respond differently to a situation where you can see that, oh my gosh, that was me 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. That's exactly how I acted. And then you have the opportunity to respond differently, and do your best not to feed into the loosh farm by dropping into heavier, dense vibrations and frequencies. There have been times that I felt great dismay, grief, sadness, anger, frustration, and definitely dropped into these denser energies because, that's the nature of the chemical, biological, hormonal experience you have in this field of awareness. You, having gone through these experiences and through these emotions and through these responses and reactions for so long, for me, it's my 54th year coming up. Well, I guess it's my 54th year, 55th year if I'm talking about being 9 months in the womb, of being with using in this paradigm and actually reacting and responding in certain ways, but also being very acutely aware. And that point of awareness for me is a big one for me this year. My point of awareness has been to respond rather than react to situations where I'm met with like what would be before me yelling, say 10 years ago, 15 years ago, me being going like, oh my fucking God, yelling and screaming, kicking up a big fuss. I have had moments where I've thrown tanties. I have this year. But I've definitely looked for solutions much more quicker and easier. And then due to the nature of the books that I've been drawn to read, my intuitive pings this year in regards to the information coming into my life and showing me things about myself and how to respond and how to respond and how to perceive reality has been off the charts. I'm finishing up the David Icke trilogy, the Reality trilogy. I wasn't going to read it, but I had an intuitive ping, real strong one, about 2 months ago. Read the trilogy. Read it. As I've read it, I've seen so many experiences that I've gone through this year and so many insights I had this year, intuitive insights I've had this year around the nature of what and how the simulation works. And it's been startling. David Icke's research, I don't agree with everything he says, but for me, the more I look at what he's written, the more I understand that there has been a definite correlation between my experience this year, my gnosis, my knowing this year, and knowing that I know nothing, which is the big thing, right? Knowing that I know nothing and have questions, not answers, just more and more questions. And I'm more curious, I've got more wonder. I'm constantly asking questions about the nature of what I'm experiencing, and therefore that leads to opening up more and more doors, opening up more and more avenues to explore, and that allows information to come in my experience, allows information and to come into my sphere of influence, and also to be guided to have experiences where I'm given the opportunity to respond or react differently, to discover information, to hear information from other people, and to meet people that can help me to move forward, with my experience in this year in Auckland. The greatest aspect of my year in Auckland, and the most powerful aspect of my year in Auckland, has been the people I've met, the community up here that I've met of people. And that comes down to resonance too, right? When your heart's open the way mine has been this year, through my meditations every morning, I meditate every morning. I have brought into my life some incredible people through my resonance, and it's a coherence thing. And often when people are in that place of coherence, at least on the surface level, they'll be in your life for a short time. But when you spend more time with them and the coherence is no longer there, they slip out of your life quickly. They slip out of your life. So what I've experienced this year is there's been a lot of people that I've met up here in Auckland who are just off the charts, awesome men and women, just amazing. I've learned a lot about more. I've learned a lot more about the legal system. I've been drawn to read books about the legal system even further, deeper. Living in the private, it's been a big part of my life this year. Getting more and more ballsy, more and more fearless in regards to how I approach, understanding the contract law, consent, and joinders. Massive parts of my life in regards to dealing with corporations who want to bring me into contract when there is no contract, and then asking them fearlessly, show me the contract. Because I don't consent to any of this without a contract with wet ink on both sides. From my side and your side, and often with most of these situations with corporations, government corporations, there is no contract. There never was a contract. So, getting to that place of being fearless and asking questions, not being horrible or facetious or rude, asking questions. And then asking questions that for me also relates to how I've experienced my life moving forward, and like this year as well, asking questions around the nature of my experience and why I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing. Why have I had all these doors closed in front of me for an entire year? And they still are. Yesterday I had an experience where I saw, the worst of the worst behavior in some people in the last few weeks. And I've seen the worst of the worst behavior in people in the last year, really, in Auckland. There's a degree of, I think, Auckland City itself. There's a lot of people. I'm reading the book, and this is what happened this morning after reading the first part of the book, the Reveal, by David Icke. He talks about the nature of the left brain, people being conditioned to see the world through their left brain only. And I think out of the trilogy, the books I've read so far, this is by far the most dynamic for me, because a lot of the work he's written about. And the dream and the trap I know it. I've experienced it. I've come to my own conclusions around those aspects. But this was brilliant. This book is thus far, the first few pages I've read have been sensational, and the information he perceives around his truth, and I think it is a truth for me too, looking at it and perceiving it, is that the left brain conditioning in Auckland, for a lot of people that I don't necessarily spend a lot of time with, but I have to interact with, I'm seeing a lot of that. I'm seeing and meeting so many people that are in their left brain, and therefore it's like the way that they act and the way that they deal with you as a whole brain individual with a corpus callosum in the middle of my skull, my brain, my CPU, which I cross between both hemispheres, right hemisphere, left hemisphere, and cross between the two. I've been a whole-brained spirit in my holographic form for a very long time. And when I'm dealing with left-brain people, you can tell them right away they're rigid, they're conditioned, they're structured, their actions have no empathy, they have no ability to have remorse. Often they're cold and calculated. It's business, it's money, it's finance, it's my way or the highway. There's no sense of empathy. There's no sense of of looking at the situation in a huge holistic way rather than looking at it in parts. The left brain will always look at things in parts. The right brain will see a bigger picture and look at the bigger picture and then act from that bigger picture perspective. And when you do that, you generally, in my experience, you have a bit more, empathy, compassion, and an ability to look at a situation and then act from that place of like seeing what's best for everybody and also yourself, and being more community minded, so to speak, right? Rather than business, because the two can meet in the middle. But for a lot of people in Auckland that I've met in the last year, it's been about business, money, what's in it for me, and they're very self-centered and very left-brained people. And I've seen that, and it's been really powerful to actually understand that. A lot of the people I've dealt with here in the last year have been left-brained. But the right brain and the whole brain people that I've dealt with this year have been amazing. And I've had a beautiful community experience in Auckland. One of those communities fell to pieces for me. Manawa One, ecstatic dance community, which I was a part of for about 5 months. I walked away from that. It just didn't feel for me like I felt like my time with that form of medicine for me, which is dance. Ecstatic dance for me is a massive medicine. It's a really important medicine for me. As a spirit, sound and light are very important to me. Dance is a huge part of my life. Huge part of my life. And sobriety now. And sobriety. Not anymore. I used to take shit tons of drugs. Not anymore. Those days are over for me. Had a good time, but they're over. Those times were over for me. Especially the frequency and the amount of the drugs I'm taking. I have taken, I should say. Taken, past tense. But that community for me fell to pieces, but I did find a great community and an amazing community, which I'm still a part of and I volunteer at the Button Factory on Epping Street off Karangahape Road in Auckland. The 5 progenitors of that community hub are amazing people. And what they've created there is quite special. And I feel privileged to be able to, the people that I've met there most of them have been amazing, and the experiences that I've had there have been off the charts. It feels like a house party whenever I go to a party there. So many workshops, so many gigs, so many seminars, so many retreats, classes. Just a really amazing group of people doing their very best to offer the community back conscious workshops, cultural workshops, health and well-being workshops, gigs and parties, just a community space that they've created there. And I feel privileged to have been a volunteer working there for the last year, helping out where I can. On Saturday night, there was a risque cabaret bass party there for the David Dead, and I went there as a punter, and I worked on the door for 2 hours, taking tickets at the beginning of the night. And I went upstairs, and as a former bar manager, I walked into the bar and saw that the bar was like heaving, but also they needed help. So I stepped in and helped them out because they needed the help. I was working there from about 11 till 4 in the morning. Was shattered by the end of it, but I knew it had to happen. But I had a great time doing it. It feels like a house party to me. It feels like the people I'm working with, people I give my time to there, people I hang out with there, are just wonderful. And I'm so grateful to have this experience, to find that community. And this is one of the major reasons why I stayed in Auckland rather than going overseas in May. Because I could have easily gone like, you know what, I'm fucking out of here, man. I'm done. I've got enough cash to go to Australia for a short time, maybe work in Australia for the winter and then go further abroad for the summer. But I decided to stay here because the nature of what I was experiencing in that community was really nourishing for my soul, nourishing for my spirit, my wairua, nourishing for me, and the people I met there I wanted to spend more time with. And I'm so blessed that I've had the opportunity to be a part of that. And I am a part of that group of people. And they are truly amazing people with such an array of skills. And I'm grateful for that. That's been one of the highlights of my time in Auckland, without a doubt. So my year's almost come. My year since my birthday last year, which I had here in Kumeu. I had a carver ceremony actually, in Kumeu, the land I was staying at last year in November. It's almost been a year. Almost a year. It'll be a year on Tuesday, and today's Thursday, so it'll be a year on Tuesday since I've been here. And my year this year has really been about getting to know and understand the nature of how the simulation works. I can see that now by reading the intuitive ping to read the David Icke reality trilogy series has really shown me, especially with this last book, The Reveal, has shown me how this all works, how the Loosh farm works, how the machinations within the simulation, if we are indeed in a simulation, and my feeling is what we are, and if Einstein says that there is no matter, there's only light and sound, then for me and my perception, and what I'm experiencing, what I've experienced the last 54 years, almost 55 years of my awareness projecting into this 3D simulation, which I do honestly believe is a simulation. So perceive, not believe, perceive. We are in a simulation. It's showing me the parameters. It's showing me how to work within the simulation. It's showing me how to anchor into the simulation that which I need to in order to pick it apart and then bring in infinite reality, all that is, ever has been, and ever will be. Tune into that energy and watching the machinations of the Agent Smiths of the Matrix coming in through people to attack me, to bring me back, not in a kung fu fight, but bring me back into a place where I'm back in the pen with all the rest of the sheeple, being loosed off, and do my best to be conscious in my point of awareness through this process. It's been a year of blessings. It's been a year of turmoil. It's been a year of batshit crazy experiences. In regards to relationships with women, this year I've had one relationship. I guess you could call, we were lovers more than in a relationship, but we were relating to each other. And what I discovered about myself through that connection was that what I'm available for in regards to relating to women, I've become very much at peace with being single and being alone. But I'm never alone. But being alone in regards to the lack of connection in that intimate sense. I've had an amazing life with regards to intimate connection, sexual and emotional. Amazing, with the most incredible woman all my life. And my relationship and my relating intimately and otherwise to my former lover at the beginning of the year, which ended at the end of March, early April, was staggering and truly beautiful on so many levels. I love that former lover of mine. I'm not going to tell you her name. Deeply and sincerely. And even though we have no coherence often with each other due to the nature of our life paths and also how we perceive our existence is what's important for us. We live in very different worlds. I still have great in my heart enormous respect and love for her, and I wish her all the very best. And I perceive that she will find someone to meet her in the way that she needs to be met in order for her to feel safe. For me, moving forward in regards to that kind of connection, I'm open to the experience of meeting someone who meets me on all those levels I need to be met on in order to feel safe. And in the next year, moving forward. But having said that, also I'm quite comfortable being in my own skin and being alone. As I said, I've had an amazing life. Well, that's my year review. I haven't written anything else in regards to my books. I've done a lot more videos this year. I've been concentrating on doing videos only, no books. I have a book to finish. I started writing in 2019, and I've got all the information now. I need to finish it. Ideally for me, that would be next winter, somewhere warm where I can sit down in another country, other part of the world, cheap and warm, and I'll finish that book because it's a very important book to write, rigmarole. And I'll probably, having created the capital to publish it, to hire my team to work for me. I have 5 people working for me in a team to publish my books when I'm publishing. I will publish that book in 2027. I would I would like to publish it in 2027. I feel as well be well received. Thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it. Amatewa. Thanks for watching my videos on my YouTube channel and subscribing if you have. And thanks to everyone who's taken the time to watch this 36 minute video of my review of my life the last year. I really appreciate that too. Go well.